Hi everybody, Captain Al speaking with your time training tips and 10 ticks targeted to teaching technical type transport travel through tailored tiny takeaways. The question for today, episode 5, explain the VNAV CRZ page for the Boeing 747-400 and Boeing 747-8. We're in the virtual simulator to answer the question of the day, what does the CRZ page do? We just departed Seattle. We're heading northwest. We're going to be turning back to the south to head to Portland. And we just transitioned through the transition altitude. We're about to level at our cruise altitude of flight level 190. And you'll notice we're on the climb page for the CDU. And as we get to flight level 190, which is our cruise altitude, the climb page will automatically change to cruise, and our reference thrust on the primary ICAS will also change to cruise thrust reference if you have that option. So I'm going to release the simulator, and I'm going to bring us around to back to Seattle. You can see we just leveled off in VNAV path, flight level 190, 19,000, and the page changed automatically to cruise. And our reference thrust changed to cruise as well. So let's start heading back towards Seattle. We've kind of headed to the northwest just to extend a little bit. And we'll go to LNAV. And we'll start to turn back towards Seattle en route to Portland. And we see that our top of descent point is 86 miles. We can see that on the progress page. We can also see that on the VNAV CRZ page as well. The CRZ page, as we said when we discussed the climb page, the CRZ page is page 2. Again, 3 pages: climb, cruise, and descent, 1, 2, and 3. You'll notice at the top of the title line of the VNAV page always tells you what you're controlling to. The cruise page is active, and we're controlling to our best economic speed. Whenever you're controlling to the best econ speed, the indicated airspeed Mach window is blank, indicating that the FMC is controlling the speed, and the speed you're controlling to is the econ speed, and the econ speed is 0.745 going to Portland. That speed is also displayed on the PFD as well in magenta, and it's in magenta on the cruise page as well. That economic speed is based on several factors, which include our cruise altitude, our temperature, our weight, and our cost index. The cost index is a formula that's calculated from operating costs, fuel costs, crew costs, all combined into one. And the computer then will figure out what is the best economic speed. Whenever we have a cost index that's low, the cost index can vary from 0 to 9,999, and most of the time we're in the 100, 50, 150 range. And the lower the cost index, the slower the speed. The higher the cost index, the faster the speed. So whenever we're in a lower cost index, we're pretty close to long range cruise as it is, but there is a prompt down here to get to long range cruise if you didn't want econ cruise. So if you push long range cruise down here, that would take you to the modified cruise page. When you execute this, it'll go to the active long range cruise page. And now we'd be controlling to long range cruise and not to an econ speed. If you want to go back to econ, we can always select econ, and then that would go back to our econ speed. So we'll do that. We'll go back to econ. Most of the time we stay in econ, but there is a prompt down here for long range cruise. 0.744 again is the speed that the computer wants to hold for that best economic cruise speed. And the N1 to hold that is going to be 81.7%, right around there. You can see now it's increasing the speed to get back to our best econ speed. But once the power settles down, we can expect it to be in that range of 81.7% to hold that 0.744. Now again, you can always change the speed on this line. You can change it through the CDU here, or you can change it through the mode control panel here. The mode control panel is more heads up, the CDU is more heads down. A lot of times the pilot flying is on the active VNAV page, so if you're above 10,000 feet, he can usually be the one to change the speed. So for example, if we wanted 330 knots, we could type out 330, put it on the econ speed line. That would make it a modified cruise page. The selected speed is 330. When you execute that, then it would change to active 330 knot cruise. The window's still blank and we're still controlling the speed through the CDU, but we're controlling it directly. We're not letting the computer control it. We're specifying the speed that we want. If we want to go back to econ, there's a prompt that is always down here at the 5 left position to go back to your econ speed. So we'll select that, we'll execute it, we'll go back to econ. Another way is to just simply reach up here and push the indicated airspeed Mach window, and then once you do that, you can control the speed to whatever you want. So if I wanted to go back to 330, I could do it this way. This is more a direct intervention on the VNAV page. And you'll notice the title of the page now is Active MCP Speed Cruise, because you're controlling the speed through the mode control panel. Windows open, you're controlling the speed, and we can see the speed here, we can see the speed here, and we can see what we're controlling to with the title. And again, you'll see there's nothing here, just econ. There's no prompt for econ, because to get back to econ, all you have to do is push the selector. Again, blank the window, and it will automatically go back to your best econ speed of 0.744. So this is called speed intervention, and that's a more heads-up way to control the speed. Once ATC says resume normal speed, we can push the selector, the window will go blank, and notice the title of the page changes from active MCP speed cruise back to active econ cruise, and the speed will go back to our econ speed of 0.744. RVSM is so that you can make step climbs according to RVSM criteria, which are 2,000 feet. You can change the step size to anything you want. If you wanted to change it, for example, to 1,000-foot step size, you could. And then the computer will figure out your step predictions based on that step size. Now, because we're so close to Portland and our recommended altitude is flight level 190, it's not going to recommend any steps. But the step information would come here at one right. And notice right now we're 62 miles from the top descent point, so at this point it wouldn't recommend any steps on this shortest segment. If you, to get this back to RVSM, you simply type an R in the -8, and that'll go back to RVSM. It's a little different, the 400. The 400 will have ICAO here. And again, you can put in any information for step size of 1,000, 2,000, 4,000, whatever you want. And then if you delete it, it reverts back to ICAO. Notice that we have information now to the top of descent. This would normally again have the step information here, and then below that it would tell you whether you can step now or you can step at a certain mileage and distance in a certain time. So for example, if we had RVSM in there and we had a significant route segment in there that was longer than where we're going right now, you would have a step to flight level 210, and then it would give you the time and distance to do that step. If you can do it now, it'll say now. If you can't do it because it exceeds a max or it's too close to a max altitude, then it would say none, meaning you can't step to that higher altitude. So it's either going to say none or now, or give you a time and distance that you can step to that altitude. Right now we can see on our ND that if we were to increase the range a little bit, we'll see our top of descent point. And you can see if I increase my range, we're heading towards Seattle and then to Portland. And there's our top of descent point, and that's giving information for that. We're going to arrive at Portland at this time with this fuel. And then it's got information for our optimum altitude, which gives us a adequate stall margin. And this is usually the altitude we want to hang around. It gives us our max altitude, which in this case is 40,200. And then, of course, our recommended based on the segment, which is a short segment, is flight level 190 where we are. And then, of course, down here you have the engine out prompt to get to the engine out page. And then that'll give you the information if we lost an engine for a long-range cruise engine out speed. It also gives us the maximum altitude and the optimum altitude for a 3-engine operation, which is much higher than where we are right now. In this case, it wouldn't replace this altitude because this altitude is a lot less than our optimum or our max. But if we were up at flight level 380, then it would certainly change this to reflect that we'd have to drift down to a lower altitude. And it usually will set the max altitude in automatically, and then you could change that to a lower altitude to descend to, let's say, flight level 320 if you didn't want to go to your max, but you wanted to go below that. The engine out speed prompt gives you the ability to select a different speed than long range cruise, and this is if you'd want to stay higher longer. So the best engine out speed is kind of a minimum drag speed, and if you really wanted to stay up higher for a longer distance, this would be the speed to use. And obviously when you go to engine out, you have a prompt to get back to all engine if we were to execute this. And you get the engine relit, then you can go back to all engine. And then lastly over here you've got the RTA progress, and this will allow you to select a fix. And this is a required time of arrival, so if we said we want to reach Helms no later than some time, we could put Helms in here, we could put the time that we want to reach there, and then it will automatically try to adjust the speed slower or faster to get you there at that time, if it can. If it can't, it'll say unable RTA. If it can, it will adjust the speed to get you to that waypoint at that time. So that's it for the cruise page, and thanks for watching.